You make of this? You must be quite happy today.
Well, we're delighted that we've reached a settlement, that this is a victory for human rights, it's a victory for environmental justice, and for a process whereby multinationals can be held to account for violations of international law in locations like Nigeria. Shell's operations in Nigeria, vast, extensive, and providing a huge amount of revenue for the Nigerian government. Shell was in a position of overwhelming power to prevent these human rights abuses from going ahead, but yet they planned, aided and abetted human rights abuses.
Well, of course, they've always denied that wrongdoing, haven't they, Shell?
Well, they would, wouldn't they? They've been fighting this court case for 12 years now, trying their best, using every trick in the book to prevent this from going to trial. And one of the reasons is that, we've had a look at the evidence, and it's pretty damning. It shows you exactly why Shell would want to settle out of court and wouldn't want the facts coming before a jury. So we are pleased with the settlement. We feel that it's a victory, and we join the plaintiffs in celebrating this occasion.
If you feel the evidence was overwhelming, wouldn't it have been better to press on?
Well,
not settle?
Well, I think, for the plaintiffs involved, they've had this case hanging over, their heads for a long time now, and I think they're ready to move on, and that was their decision. I think that, on Shell's part, they have a strong case that they need to be held accountable for, and we will be exposing these documents, internal Shell memos, which implicate them deeply in planning, aiding and abetting human rights abuses.
It's 14 years on since those killings. Do you think the world has changed in the Niger Delta? Is it well, it's a different place after all, in the sense that there's no longer a military government, and are oil companies behaving differently?
Well, I think the situation has dramatically declined since the day of Ken Saro-Wiwa and the Ogoni movement. Back then, Shell refused to listen to peaceful, non-violent organisers like Ken Saro-Wiwa and conspired to silence him and others in a range of brutal crackdowns against the Ogoni. And, today they still don't listen to non-violent activists. They only listen when the vital supply of oil is threatened by militant groups that are operating there.
Just very briefly, they maintain, don't they, the oil companies, though they are much more in tune now with local populaces. Not just in the Niger Delta.
I think the figures speak for themselves. The Niger Delta, as the UN has labelled it, is in an appalling development situation. And, quite how Shell can claim that this settlement is a humanitarian gesture just beggars belief. If they had any concern for human rights in the region, they would end gas flaring, a practice which has been poisoning communities for over 40 years now. That's a daily human rights abuse that's still occurring. We're still going to fight it, and the campaign for what Ken struggled and died for continues.
All right, Ben Amamo, thank you very much indeed.